In sales, it's a flooded market. Game production has become easier, and it's akin to writing a book, and that I could write a book, put it up on Amazon, and try to sell it. So the process of creating something that looks pretty good, I can go to Game Crafter or some other on-demand printers and get a pretty nice looking project. But that means that all sorts of people can do that. It means you're going to get a variety of quality, and it makes it a little more difficult for the customer to discern what's good and what's not. So then that filters down to, hey, we have something that looks cool, but I've been tricked by that before, and you need to get to, I want to listen to my favorite game reviewer or hear something more about this product. As a small company, it's difficult to get big name reviewers to look at your stuff. They're flooded with requests from the large companies.
It was definitely an issue with trying to publish these games without Kickstarter. In general, it's harder to make games that people will get their eyes on unless it's on Kickstarter. And it's like the worst thing, right? Like it's so hard to just have people notice your game unless you have a Kickstarter or some sort of, you know, even like Indiegogo. Like if you had your game on Indiegogo, not as many eyes will reach it for some strange reason. So I think that was one of our big issues. Another big issue was probably the cost of manufacturing. So Kickstarter, because, you know, it's basically, I know a lot of people don't like calling it a pre-ordering system, and you're not supposed to, but some companies use it as that. Even after they fund, you know, you have like a pre-order little button thing there.
There's always challenges. I think they were probably easier since I went through a traditional publishing route of selling my game and then getting royalties, because Kurt, he's been in the business for 20 years, the owner of Smirk and Dagger and Smirk and Laughter, so he knew what he was doing, and he was actually a really good company to partner with. So for me, I think a lot of the risk factor was gone in that my risks by selling my game into a well-established publisher were, is it going to sit in game queue hell and not get made? And my other risk was, is the publisher I sold it to going to take the game and go, oh, I like the circle, I bought a few, but I think it should be a square, and then change everything on me. Kurt, I think, is probably one of the better people to work with in the industry in that he let my vision kind of flow from start to finish. Yes, things changed artistically. He added some stuff. There were some modifications, but from the prototype I sold Kurt on through the end product that you can get now on a store shelf is 96% of the original game with only slight modifications, and most of those were art direction. So it was actually a really good experience. But there was that initial thing of, here's my baby, and I didn't know if I'd recognize my baby when they were done. Like, are they going to come back with a mohawk, shaved head? I don't really know. So yeah, there were definitely those risks. But outside of that, since I was selling the game, I avoided a lot of financial risks, which are the most concerning this time period, especially now.
I mean, Kickstarter is nice in that it's you're dealing with a focused group. A lot of gamers are there, so you're talking to them directly. You know, there's challenges with shipping and those kinds of things. And again, it's marketing and sales or advertising so that people are aware of the product, that they and so those are a lot of things that are not particularly in my skill set. So that makes it more difficult, and actually I don't have a lot of interest in doing it. So it makes it more of a challenge to sit down and like, okay, let's do some social media stuff. Okay, let's, you know, do some promotional materials. And when it's not what excites you, that makes it more difficult to do.
With fulfillment, there is a bit of like I would say we were a little concerned about fulfillment just because of COVID. And, you know, how is it going to, how are we going to ship it out to, you know, other countries if shipping prices go up within, you know, the next 6 months or so, right? So, you know, if by November or if by like earlier than that, probably like October, we receive the games, you know, everything's ready. How are we going to ship these out to people? You know, what happens if shipping prices go from like, you know, $5 to, you know, $10 or something like that. And, you know, just doing the math on, you know, 300 games for, you know, a $5 increase is a lot. So I think that was one of the initial challenges that we were thinking about in terms of getting the games to the backers.
The biggest thing would be to not have a ego about the game. So when I'm bringing out, because the next thing is going to be playtest, 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 and do that with different people and people that are not your friends. If you can find people that are brutally honest, that's awesome. But if you're going to run into people that are critical of your game or it's not their thing, and you need to be able to say, just take that and listen and then not get defensive about that. Artwork can wait to the end, because if you pay for artwork on a card, then you end up not using it. It's pointless. However, if you're going to take something to conventions, I would use clip art, and you know, you're not violating any copyright laws because you're not selling anything with it on it. But to give people have a better vision of what it might look like. So, and there's a list more.
I would probably say network with everyone, or maybe not everyone, but like finding the right people to network with in terms of what you want in a product. Like, say you have this vision of what your product's going to look like, right? For Battle of the Boy Bands, we reached out to Bebo and Ella and, you know, Girls Game Health, because we knew that they would do our previews justice. Like, I think figuring out who to talk to and who to reach out to is really important, because they'll leverage, you know, your work for you. They'll like, you know, they'll like talk about your game. They'll like send out tweets. They'll send out like, you know, social media posts. And like, I think their following is more important than, say, you know, someone who wouldn't even care about your game, like who would probably just like make a half-assed review and just say, yeah, here it is.
Biggest advice: you become part of the community, because one thing that is nice about game design, game publishing, is it really is a community. It's a small niche market, although yes, board game sales are growing double digits each year, millions upon millions of millions. Yay, great! It's awesome. Don't get me wrong, but it's still a niche industry to the point where you know everybody. It's very, very easy to get visibility, hopefully in a positive way. As long as you are participating in that community, the community will respond and embrace you. There's games that, my own personal experience, just seeing a board game design group on Facebook, which there are dozens upon dozens upon dozens of, just games that I saw people sharing with, asking questions on, or saying, hey, what do you think about this mechanic or this art style? Just putting their games onto those groups, you've interacted with something, you've touched that something. So games that I maybe gave some advice on a piece of art, now when I see that game show up on Kickstarter, for instance, I feel like I have a connection to that game already. So it's going to increase my chances that I'm backing that game. Or if it's not going to Kickstarter, but it's going to a publisher, and I know that publisher, and they're talking about, hey, I was looking at so-and-so's game, I was thinking of picking it up. Have you seen it, or you play tested it? And again, if I've touched something, or I've seen something, or I've interacted with that publisher or that person, I may be more encouraged to speak very positively of that to whatever industry contact I'm talking with at the time. I don't do that, and people don't do that if they've never heard of you. So join as many Facebook groups as you have time on. Join, you know, podcasts, Discords, and then try and participate in them. I think Jamie Stegmeyer, his recommendation was join 20 board gaming podcasts and comment on at least one of them once a day. Maybe once a week, I can't remember his frequency. But it was basically get your foot in every single door and periodically make sure that you're seen and visibly communicating, because then you're going to create contacts and find friends. And again, it is a community. We will help each other and we'll support each other. So get involved in that.